What's up, secret agents? It's your fellow agent out here in North Carolina, Josh Wyles, coming to you live from my home. Man, it's been just an amazing week. Last week was just the bomb. This past Monday night's Vision Cast was absolutely incredible. Man, I love this. I love this community. For those of you guys who are just joining us, and maybe this is your first webinar, it's first time meeting me, I'm gonna, go into a little bit about myself just so you can have a little perspective and know, who you're talking to and who you're hearing from tonight. But first things first, I know you guys see the beautiful Denny family down there in the bottom. Josh is not going to be able to join us tonight. He's actually in Japan right now. Him and Cindy are on a bullet train going from event location to event location. So all the secret agents online right now understand that Japan is now open. We can now enroll people in Japan right there in your back office. And the key would be to getting your guests through your network. If you have somebody out there in Japan that can make it to one of these events, make sure you're checking the secret event page. Make sure you're checking the Facebook, the Secret Direct official Facebook page, because I know the banners and all the events and stuff with Josh and Cindy Denny. Also Dr. Christopher Hose out there right now. So you want to definitely take advantage of that. Guys, this webinar, I'm excited. I'm always excited to share with the secret community. I'm always excited to be on these webinars and just have an opportunity to connect with everybody, because I can tell you, having a secret system, having a system, we're going to talk about that a lot tonight, because I don't know if you guys know, but tonight's topic, I'm super pumped about it. It's building an international business, and you guys are going to learn very fast. In order to do that, in order to do anything, we got to make sure we're following a system. And I love these webinars because they are a part of your secret system every single week. Because I remember when I first got started in this business, in relationship marketing. Maybe you're on the line right now and this is the first time you've ever been a part of an opportunity like this, and there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of questions. There's actually some fear involved. When you go out and take that step into an entrepreneur mindset, into the unknown of going out there to generate wealth for you and your family, or your reason why, or whatever it is to achieve your goals and dreams. And what I love about the secret support team, the system here, is there's just an unlimited supply of information. I mean, it's all like, really, when they say, hey, you are in business for yourself but never by yourself, that's the way it is. I remember when I first got started, I had no money. Some of you guys know I had $1.75 to my name in my bank account, $1.75, no income, no job, nothing. I sold the TV on my wall to get started, and my background before that actually was I was a police officer. I was broke. We were on welfare, food stamps. I done some work in the athletic field and kickboxing. I had some fights there, trying to make some extra money on the side when I wasn't policing, and it was just bad. I mean, I'm actually here because I was lied to, just like a lot of you guys. I mean, they say that the way to be big in life, the way to be successful, the way to get ahead is, for you to, number one, go to school and get an education so that you can go out and get a good job. And you guys know these days that doesn't work, because the majority of people, it's like, what, 80% of college graduates from 2014 are having trouble finding a job in their graduating field. They go and they take out this loan, sometimes 20, 30, 40, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how long you go to school for and what you study. And then you have to pay all that back. I mean, that's debt to the government. And most of the time, it's hard to even get a job these days, because we see the way the economy is changing. We see that now, Uber is the largest taxi company in the world, and they don't actually own any cars. They don't have to have any locations. It's all done online. Redbox, you don't have to go to a brick and mortar location. Netflix, you don't have to go to a brick and mortar location. They just shut down the Target stores. In Canada, I know that 100 years ago, 99% of the jobs in America were in agriculture. It had to do with getting our food and creating jobs in the workplace. And now, 100 years later, it's like maybe 1% of our jobs is actually in agriculture in the workplace, because the technology is advancing. There's so much outsourcing. There's so much that can be done with the use of social media, this use of social sharing, the internet. That keeps us all connected. And that kind of is a perfect segue into our topic tonight with building an international business. But I'm much like most of you guys on the line right now. I didn't have international contacts. I had never had sales experience or training or a big background building a big business. I had a little bit of experience in this relationship marketing industry and in another company. But it was nothing to the degree, nowhere near the degree of what we've been able to create here in secret, multiple six figures of income from home, simply because we've been able to lock in, really follow this simple system and just learn and grow and be committed. And guys, it's absolutely changed our life. I remember some of you guys have heard some of the stories. My first WOW party, the gaslight cutting on, and me only having that money in my bank account. Some of you guys know the story of even before that, Heather, my wife, pregnant, almost looks like 14 months pregnant, sitting on the couch balancing a bowl of cereal on her pregnant belly, while I'm out working, and she's stripping copper. She's stripping like scrap wire from the construction sites that I used to work at before I became a cop, because just to make ends meet, man. I mean, we were so broke that if we get paid on Friday, by the Wednesday before, we're looking for stuff in our house to sell on Craigslist and eBay, or to take to the pawn shop just to make ends meet for our two beautiful daughters. And guys, now we don't have to do that because of this incredible opportunity. And not only that, it's been great. This past couple of days have been amazing. Easter was great. Yesterday was my not only the anniversary of when I proposed to my wife, 8 years ago, but also my father-in-law's birthday was yesterday. We got to have some incredible family time yesterday. And I'm not, it's so beautiful not to be bound by, by a job, or to be bound by a boss telling you, when to be at work, when to go home, how much you're going to earn, what you're going to do. Some cases, when to take a lunch break, when to take a bathroom break. And I know that a lot of you guys on the line right now, especially these new agents who are just now getting started and getting a glimpse of what freedom's going to look like for you, because I know you're all so eager to. And tonight I'm going to share really how we've been able to do that, and to build a residual income, because, guys, residual income is what it's all about. The ability to do something once and get paid for it multiple times over and over and over is like, that's a dream come true for everybody. It's like I tell people, it's a difference between installing the automatic door at Walmart, or getting paid to install it once, or getting paid a few dollars every time somebody walks in. What would you rather have? Would you rather get paid one time to install it, or would you rather get paid a fee every time somebody walks in that automatic door? And that's residual income. And what I see so many times, especially throughout the industry and people, is they get in and they think, okay, well, I'm here, I'm in, I had a few WOW parties, it's time to wait, I'm waiting on the residual income to flow in. And guys, what a lot of people don't understand is there's a build-up process to the residual income, and it is all due to following a system. And in secret, we have, some of you guys know, if you've been around as long as us, and some of you guys have been around from the very beginning, it's been a progression and almost an evolution to get us to a place to where we have a system that step by step is already mapped out for us, and all we got to do is follow it. And there's a couple of things I want to go over tonight, but it's funny, I was at the park today with my kids. That's one of the most beautiful things about being able to run a home-based business, is because you can make some three-way calls from the car. You can be out on the playground and take a conference call or blueprint someone, and in between calls you can put that time, that focused time and attention into your family. And we were out there, and I remember my 7-year-old daughter Peyton today was on the monkey bars, and today we're so excited because she actually did the big adult monkey bars all by herself. And it took her a few tries, but the first step is to, number one, the first step is get your grip and make sure you have your legs positioned on the little ladder or the little platform in a way to where you can push off. And as a little 7-year-old, use that momentum and swing your body forward and get in a good rhythm of arm over arm, crossing your arms to get across to the other side of the monkey bars. And the first few times, she would fall, and then she got it all the way across, and we cheered her on. And then a few minutes later, she rested and she went down the slide a couple times. She said, "Dad, I want you, let's do it again. Help me back up on the platform." And I just put her up on the platform and I walked away, and I watched her, and she didn't take the time to get her arms positioned right, and she didn't take the time to really push off. She just kind of jumped and hung for a second and then tried to gain that momentum without actually, pushing off and following that first step. And she dropped and she fell, and so we had to do it again. And I had to remind her, "Remember, baby, remember what you did the first time that you were successful at it. Is just, you got to make sure you get your arms positioned, spring off." And I promise you guys, it makes sense if you really think about it in our business, because I'm looking at the system that we have. And this S4S, man, this system for success is tried and true, the real deal. I mean, to be able to have a quick 4-step system, and then when we add, I don't know if you guys were on, not this past Monday, but the week before last, when #1 money earner John Malott was on, he was training us on the SMS for S4S, the texting system, and how 90% of the communication that goes on between us today, us as humans in this today's society, is through text messaging. It's on our phones, and most people today are texting over talking. And to be able to follow the quick SMS for S4S system to really get the invites out and get the information out there to expose people, it's taken the fear out, and that's why so many people are having success. And so the system is mapped out for us, because once we get started, once we follow the S4S, we get our commitment level mapped out. What is our commitment? What are our goals and dreams? What are we setting out to achieve? Obviously, everybody right now is positioning themselves with the Pro Pack. It only makes sense. I know this is geared toward international, so in Canada, the Pro Pack's like $4,600 worth of products for only $2,000. In America, it's like $4,300 worth of products for $16.99. And to have the ability to get started in a business that's going to carry you to financial freedom, to help you become financially independent, that's not a huge investment. So that's why most people, anybody who hasn't gotten the Pro Pack, they're upgrading to the Pro Pack. When the Pro Pack came out, Heather and I went in and bought one. So I'd never actually had all the products all at once. So that was amazing. And guys, your commitment level's key. I mean, you guys know the story of Cortez. You guys have probably heard it a million times. It's like, if you're gonna do something, you gotta burn your ships. You gotta make sure that you commit. You gotta make that decision. And I'm a Tony Robbins fan, and Tony Robbins says, decision is when you cut out other options. The word decisions actually comes from the Latin word to cut from. D is from, and then decision to cut. Decision to cut from. So when you make a true decision, you cut out all the other options. And buying the Pro Pack, you cut out all the other options because you're going big, you're going home. And then once you get your commitment level, you get your Pro Pack, the next step is just, steps 2, 3, and 4 is the exposure process, is just making sure that you're doing your 2 wow parties a week, bare minimum. Make sure you're doing it with, personal 3 guests each party. And it's so easy to invite people now because of the SMS system, the texting system. It's something interesting somebody said to me the other day, who's actually been in the business for about a year now. And you guys know we just launched this text message training a month ago at the Movement event in Vegas. And over this last month, this leader said that the attendance at their wow party has almost tripled. They've almost been able to guarantee the attendance at their wow party is 3 times as much as it used to be. And the wow parties of their agents and their team, because people are getting exposed to some information before they actually show up, which kind of gets them more open and more emotionally attached to coming and seeing it at a different level because they've actually gone through some information. And so with that texting system, it's just a no-brainer. But I think the next step, once we get through the wow parties and once we get some new agents into the system, I think the biggest thing that needs to be focused on is the blueprints. And keep in mind, I'm talking to you guys about why a system and how you're going to be able to go out and build an international business. Well, the majority of the agents on the line right now, if you're not full-time, if you don't have the capital to go and travel, because I don't know if you guys know, Heather and I, we didn't have the money to travel for a while. I mean, you guys know that we got started, had no money, so we didn't have a whole lot of money to travel. But some of you guys have heard the story of Miss Tracy Zimmer up in Calgary, Alberta, who obviously North Carolina is not driving distance to Calgary, to really make it in any reasonable amount of time. Considering I didn't even have a passport when I joined Secret. Seriously. And so how was I able to build an international business? Obviously, through this amazing leader of a woman, Tracy Zimmer. And honestly, guys, it's because of this system of making sure that every single new agent that is joining the team is, following this system and building the blueprint. And I'm sort of making sure they're going through their blueprint. And I liken it to the story I said today. We were fortunate to be able to spend some time with the girls today at the park, and it was such a beautiful day out here in North Carolina, like 85 degrees. It was beautiful. It wasn't humid yet. The wind was blowing nice. It was bright and sunny. And But like I said, as long as my little girl Peyton had her footing planted the right way, as long as she took the time to get her arms in the right spot, and she used that footing to push and gain a little bit of momentum so that she could get the rhythm of arm over arm, she got the monkey bars every single time. And I've been talking to a lot of agents lately, and there's some agents in in the community right now that they get it, like they're committed, they're going out and they're doing the activity, but some of them just aren't actually, they're falling a little short. And it reminded me today of Peyton, like, sometimes she would actually push through and be, just grit her teeth and just kind of be determined and try to gain that momentum, but it was so much harder, and it's a long adult, monkey bars, and the bars are really spaced. It's not for a 7-year-old, and so she would get a few rungs in and she would fall short, and she would have to drop and dust herself off and come back to the other side and start all over again. And I know that that's a lot of what's going on with some of the people in the community, especially some of the people that a few people I've talked to lately. You've got this one group of people who are exploding and just going out there and making it happen step by step, and just seems like, man, like a Lisa Lewis platinum in 30 days, like a Lisa J who knocked out Diamond in record time, smashed through any record that I could have ever set. And we got these other agents out there, these leaders leading the field, and then you've got there's obviously some people who are like, man, I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to miss the boat. I want to make sure that I can take advantage of this too. I'm committed. I got my Pro Pack. I'm upgrading to the Pro Pack. I bought my special agent, or I'm getting ready to upgrade to the special agent. I'm coming to peak. I'm committed to going executive. I've got my Ignite ticket purchase from the back office. I'm going to be in Phoenix for the Ignite conference. I'm not going to miss this boat. But I don't want to just be on the boat. I want to make sure I can build a team and bring a team of people with me. And then there's some brand new agents right now that have just gotten started over the last few days that are doing this webinar right now, and they're hearing this information for the first time, and they're like, okay, wow, this makes sense. I want to be on that boat and bring some people with me too, so I can launch my business to the next level, so that I can achieve my goals and dreams. But what's the next step? And I'm going to tell you guys, it absolutely is the blueprint. And and I had to kick myself there for a little bit, because there was a time where as new agents were getting started, and I was doing my welcome calls, or as I was recruiting a new agent, I wasn't making sure, it's easy to draw out the S4S or send them an S4S video, or to make sure they go through the boot camp, but I wasn't sitting there and filling out the blueprint worksheet with them. And I had to really step on my own toes and police myself and hold myself accountable, and go back and apologize to some new agents who didn't get launched for success properly, that I personally brought into the business, because I didn't take the time to actually blueprint them. And as I was going through it, and some of the agents that were having a lot of success and a lot of momentum right now, I realized it's because they had that foundation. It's because when they got up to that monkey bars, that new thing they were excited to go and do, that's for at a higher level than what they're used to coming into relationship marketing. They had their footing firmly planted, and they had their hands right, and they were able to push off, and they had their foundation, and it's all in the blueprint. I was talking to somebody today about it, and it really came to me. It's like, why blueprints? Well, obviously, in order to build a big business, in order to build a huge network, a huge distribution network, in order to hit platinum, in order to hit diamond, in order to hit silver or gold, we have to make sure that not only are we communicating the message, not only are we going out there and having the wow parties, not only are we going out there and making our list, and going out there and opening new business with potential agents and customers, but we're building a team of people, a community of people in our network that are duplicating and going out there and doing the same thing. Because what does John Malott say? He says that I'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 people than 100% of the effort of one other person. Because think about it, if you get 100 people giving 1%, you're still getting 100% effort. And it's gonna, and that's the key, is having a duplicatable system to be able to empower others to go out there and do it. And what I love about the blueprint is it really empowers people. It really takes the fear out, because I'm looking at it right now, and as a new person first get started, and I love the way the new applications are packaged. You have the agent order form, the customer order form, the blueprint, all right here. in a package. So a new agent, as you know, they fill out their order form and they circle their Pro Pack. You can keep that, and you know, they can take the blueprint sheet with them. And there's a place where, I mean, it's already right here, right upon signing up. You can walk them through it, and I encourage every single person on the line right now who's not actually gone through their blueprint to take some time, you know, and here's why, you know, especially when it comes to launching new agents, is making sure we get that blueprint down, whether they're long distance or whether they're local. Like I remember in the beginning, you know, we didn't even have the blueprint in the beginning. Like a couple weeks after Tracy and I got started was when the company instated the blueprint, and you know, immediately we were on the phone. I remember, you know, my 90-day skincare goal, I was, you know, obviously I didn't know much about skincare. I never done anything with skincare before. Some of you guys know my story. I bite my nails. I don't buff them. But my 90-day skin transformation goal was, you know, I'd always had really dry hands. I had dry hands. I had dry, cracked hands. My knuckles would get dry and cracked. My cuticles would just peel and bleed. And anytime I would try to stick my hand into my skinny jeans of fun pockets, it would just snag on the material, and it would just hurt so much, you know, so bad. And when I got my nail care kit, my hand cream and that cuticle oil, I was loving that stuff, man. And my hands have dramatically improved. And you know, that was my 90-day skin transformation goal. And it's important that every single new agent not only sets their 90-day skin transformation goal, but also you as a support team, as a sponsor, you know, some of the leaders on the line right now, make sure that you set yours so that you can share it with your new agent. Because sometimes, guys, you know, when you're stepping out into the unknown, you're stepping out into this new thing, especially me as a guy, and I'll speak to some of the men on the line, you know, that maybe you're either uncomfortable with the idea of skincare, you're just never known skincare before, it's new to you. You know, it helps to have somebody else that you could relate to. And so it's important to be able to, that you lead by example, set your 90-day skin transformation goal. You know, the 90-day financial goal is very important. I mean, it's key. And here's the thing, you don't want to, I see a lot of times people getting started, and we've talked about it before, is like, man, somebody gets started, and you know, because I'm diamond and I'm so excited to hit blue diamond, I can't wait to hit blue diamond. You know, and what do I need to hit blue diamond? I need another platinum on, you know, on my left team, and so who can I get to platinum? And they go ahead and start, you know, focusing on platinum or focusing on, you know, bronze or, you know, whatever. And I would say make sure that you know the 90-day financial goal of your new agent, simply because that's gonna give you an idea of where their head's at and what they feel like they can achieve over the next 90 days. And obviously, by following the system, it's probably going to come, you know, at least in 90 days, more than likely sooner. But it's important to have these goals. And guys, I'm not going to go through the entire blueprint over this webinar, because, you know, the sheets are in the back office, the videos are in the back office. There's so much information on this. But when it comes to building an international business, it's important to have a system that duplicates and that everybody can follow. I love what John said on that webinar. You know, I've heard Josh Denny say it before too, is like, you know, one of the world's largest franchise corporations, I think the largest franchise corporation, is McDonald's. And I don't care if you go to McDonald's in Tokyo or Australia or you know, Canada, Mexico, United States, regardless of where you go, everybody knows in McDonald's, you know, the reason that 17-year-old, you know, manager that is wearing the white shirt, taking your order, running the entire place, is because it's a duplicatable system. It's the same everywhere. And I think that right now, with what's going on in the secret community, where everybody's going out there and doing more wow parties than ever before, focusing on their daily pay. And I'm telling my team, make sure you focus on your daily pay, and that's going to, by virtue, build your weekly paychecks. Because you're going to get that wow bonus every time you acquire a customer in your team, and as your agents are acquiring customers, they're getting that wow bonus. But on the next orders, that's getting paid back in the residual weekly check. So obviously, people are going out there and focusing on the activity now more than ever before. But I want to make sure every single person in our community right now remembers this one key component of the system, and that's every single agent that gets launched, make sure that nobody neglects this sheet right here, this blueprint sheet. I mean, I'm telling you, when I do a blueprint with my, I would say since the conference, since the movement event, the majority of my time on the phone with new agents, welcoming new agents, or being connected with new agents is either scheduling blueprints with their support team, making sure blueprints are getting scheduled, or any of my new agents, Heather and I are back to personally sponsoring. My new agents, I'm making sure we're getting blueprints done. If they're long distance, I'm doing it over a Google Hangout, or I'm walking them through it over the phone, or obviously if they're local, I'm making an event out of their package arriving. But I've already got them blueprinted before their packages arrive, because typically if they're local and they're enrolling at the WOW party or at the 5 and 5, then I've got an extra 15 to 20 minutes to take them through this sheet, which is actually attached to the order forms. And here's another thing that I love about the blueprint is when you do it with your agent, another reason it takes the fear out, another reason it takes the unknown and really sets them up for massive action, really gives them that springboard, that momentum that segues right into the S4S, which is on the sheet, the S4S, which is an easy segue into, okay, how are we gonna get the guests to the WOW party? Let's go ahead and set our first WOW party. How do we get our guests to the WOW party? Well, that's simple. We've got the SMS, we've got the texting system. We're going to go ahead and fire 10 texts off to the last 10, 20 people we've spoken to. Your last 20 people spoken to, go ahead and send that text. But it segues in that and takes the fear out, because it takes the unknown out, because now they have a visual guideline, a visual tool to see. And this is going to touch all the visual learners. I know there's some visual learners out there that says, hey, I need to see it. I can hear it all day, but I need to see it. And as you're walking them through it, they're seeing it. They're seeing it. They're writing it down. They're looking at the information. They can see the diagram of, okay, my first agent mission, I need to go superstar. Okay, what happens next? Now I'm gonna make sure I qualify for the global customer pool. Not only get the WOW bonuses, but get the extra shares of the pool. Now wait a second. If I do this, I can if I can get to 90 days drive your dream. It's something visual for the visual learners, but then you're on the phone with them, or you're right there in front of them, walking them through it. I keep an extra blueprint page with me, clean, fresh. Everywhere I go, I got some extra blueprint manuals, so anytime I'm talking to somebody now, a new agent, I'm reading that blueprint to them. We are going over it together, because I also want to touch the audible learners, the people out there who say, you know what, I can see it all day long. Just tell me how to do it. I don't need to see it. I just need to hear it. I'm very much an audible learner. I can hear something and be able to remember it or be able to follow direction just by hearing. But then also, guys, why is it important not to, hey, make sure you take this blueprint home, here's a video, make sure you watch it and fill it out, let's catch up tomorrow. Or, hey, make sure you do your blueprint. Why is it important not to just do that? Why is it so important to also do it with them? Well, you're also going to be appealing to the kinesthetic learners. And that's the majority of the people out there, the one percenters, man, the people who are in this business, they got to just do it. Most people learn by doing, not by seeing or hearing. And so by actually physically walking them through the blueprint and having them do it, guys, it takes so much fear out, and it takes so much fear out of the game, because now you've touched all three learning styles. So no matter who it is, now they know, right? 99.9% of 99.9% of the fears out there is made up. It's just, seriously, it's just fears of the unknown, right? Why am I afraid to go do this? Because I don't know how it's going to feel if I go do that and don't get the results I want. They're afraid of the unknown. And this takes the fear of the unknown out, because it's a simple system. You're going to do this. You can expect this. You have your goal. Boom. This is what we're going to shoot for. This is how we're going to get it. It's all mapped out. The other reason to do the blueprint with your leaders and with your potential agents, your brand new agents, to just get started, is another reason it's going to encourage the duplication, is because some of you guys know, man, like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It talks about how you're supposed to actually write down your personal wealth statement. And some of you guys have been around for a while. You saw when we got the six-figure ring, I actually put my personal wealth statement up on this big screen in Orlando, Florida at our Believe conference. And it mapped out step by step what my goals were and what I wanted to accomplish by a so-and-so date, what I was willing to do, to achieve those things. And Napoleon Hill says that a goal is nothing but a wish until you put it down on paper. Until you write it down and get it out there to the universe, it's nothing but a wish. And so why would the company go through the steps to not only have the videos in the back office, to not only train it from stage at every single conference, to not only put it in that fancy, slick, sexy papered, booklet, your blueprint manual, your blueprint for success manual, but also include a sheet on every single application. Because it's obvious, guys. We got to make sure that we write our goals down. We got to make sure we map this out, and we got to make sure. Who was it that said it was? I think it was Josh Denny who said, "Leaders take responsibility for the responsibility of others," and that's huge. I mean, that is so huge, guys. A lot of people like to say, "Oh, we live in the first it was the industrial age, and then we lived in." The age of information, the information age. And guys, this day and age right now, when you've got shopping centers shutting down, when you've got jobs on a hiatus, one of my buddies, a new stud I'm working with, Luke Jalbert up in Maine, who's a stud at making big money drilling, in the oil industry. Now it's like 6 months, 8 months. Some of them are thinking maybe even a year before there's going to be any work whatsoever. And these guys have families, so it's like right now, guys, we forget the information age. We live in the age of responsibility, guys. We live in the age right now where if you don't step up and take responsibility for your actions, your attitude, your family's future, nobody's going to. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandparents are some of the hardest working human beings I've ever met in my life. And my grandma's now, her health is not able to, it's not allowing her to work. And my granddad, his health is, wavering, it's going down. And a big part of that is because, there for so long, they just worked and worked and worked and worked, and they were banking on that Social Security. They were banking on, once we get to this age, bingo, good to go, Social Security. Most of you guys on the line right now understand that that's not really an option for us. It's not even an option for my grandparents anymore. And they're not getting it. And so, guys, today we live in an age of responsibility. We live in an age where if you ain't going out there and making it happen, brother, if you ain't, stepping up, if you're not grabbing life by the horns and taking your goals and dreams and committing them to paper and writing them down and following the system, taking the action steps, stepping up for you and yours, you deserve it. For your wife, for your kids, for your husband, to bring your husband home, to make it to create a life where you and your family can go and experience the wonders of the world. You deserve it. And the only way we're going to be able to do is if we take responsibility for the responsibility of others. So I would challenge each and every leader on the line right now. I would challenge each and every new agent on the line right now. If you have not gone through and physically done your blueprint, get with somebody in your support team. Go into the back office if you don't know how to do that. Find the video. Map out this blueprint, man. Write this stuff down. It's the key. It reminds me of another story. When Heather and I first got in, it was very much just laser focused on telling every single person what we were doing. It was just laser focused on just sharing. And we built fast. We worked really hard. I had to. My back was up against the wall. Some of you guys know what that beginning was. I remember being on the phone with Josh Denny multiple times a day. I was blowing up all the leaders. I'm so fortunate with some of the leaders in this. Fortunate for the leaders in the community who supported us. And another reason the blueprint is so important is because it forces you to actually write a list of names on paper. Even on this little sheet here, it gets you your top 20, and then in the blueprint manual, it helps you make your top 100. And I was talking to an agent that I've had the fortune, I've been fortunate to work with, and we were talking just the other day, and they were like, Josh, man, how do you keep up with everybody? I don't know, who I've talked to and who I haven't talked to, and now sometimes I just feel like I haven't talked to enough people, but then I'm realizing that, man, who else can I talk to? I feel like I've talked to everybody on my Facebook or everybody on my phone, and I said, well, how many people do you have on your list? How many people have you actually written down on your list? And guys, this was like 6 to 8 months ago, and she said, wow, I never actually wrote my list down. I never actually wrote it down on paper. And I was like, oh, I didn't give her a verbal lashes or anything like that. That's not how we operate. But I made it very clear. It's like, I just asked her. I was like, okay, so how do you expect to really keep track of anything if you're not writing down on paper? And so that's another reason that we got to make sure that we're taking responsibility, because that was my responsibility as a leader. Let me tell you, had I been there in the very beginning to make sure that she was blueprinted, had I been there in the very beginning to make sure that she had at least her top 20, at least her top 100 list made, then I would have held myself accountable. I've been responsible enough to make sure she at least did that. And I would be hard pressed to find anybody in this community who wrote down their top 100 list, who actually wrote down their goals, who actually mapped out their game plan, who actually visually saw the steps. I mean, because I'm looking at this and it's almost too easy now to achieve the executive rank, the bronze rank, the royale rank. I mean, we're having people now pop in silver in 30 days. I had the opportunity to work with an amazing couple up in Maine with no experience, just pop silver in their first 30 days by following this system. And I would be hard pressed to find any agent that actually did the blueprint, actually mapped their goals out, actually wrote down their list, set their goals, made their list, that didn't at least go through the action steps of texting people. And you guys know, when you've made your goals, when you made your list, and you start texting people, people start responding. And when people start responding, they want to find out more information, receive more information, and then obviously your WOW party attendance will go up. When the WOW party attendance go up, when the amount of samples you're sending out goes up, when the amount of 5-and-5s and appointments and webinars and conference calls, your attendance of your guests on those go up, by virtue of that, the amount of people buying as customers and the amount of people that are taking part in this community to join us with building wealth, by virtue of that, goes up. And that's what I'm doing. And especially when you're talking international, you got to do it that way. Because here's the first step. Here's the first key, the one key to building an international business. Get really good at building in your backyard first. Because if you can't get some duplication in your hometown, if you can't get some duplication in the surrounding cities where you can drive to and be face-to-face with people and get belly-to-belly and support these people, if you can't get duplication that way, it is a whole nother ball game when you're talking about dealing with an international market, a country where sometimes the rules and regulations are different, where sometimes sometimes the pricing is different, where sometimes the product line's different. And so to be able to have this system that you can follow and plug every single person into, because here's what I know, the blueprint works across the board. But so many people, I think, right now are just so fired up and excited about the activity, and that's great. That's so important to be fired up and and going out and creating success and massive activity. But we can't forget this foundation. We can't forget the foundation of the blueprint, and that's what I've had to recently go back to, and making sure every single person it has their foundation firmly built. That just laying that foundation, making sure their hands are in the right position at the top of the monkey bars, and their feet are ready to push off and get that rhythm and the momentum that they need to cross the finish line. And it's easy. I mean, it's easily a 15, 20, 25-minute conversation to get somebody through this. And I promise you, the more people that you do it with every single time that you're walking a new agent through a blueprint, remember, you're sharing your 90-day goal too. You're sharing your 90-day skin goal, your 90-day financial goal, your 1-year financial goal, and your why. And just verbally, when you have it written down and you're helping others write it down, and you're verbally creating this culture of sharing that, and you're sharing yours, and you're hearing other people's, and we're just, I think it really just fuels the fire of belief much more, because now our reason why and our goals and our achievements and our deep desires of our heart are always out there, always in the forefront. We're releasing it out into our environment. And it's I see it making a huge difference in my business. I see it making a huge difference in the business of the people out there that are doing it. And I'm just fired up. I'm excited. And especially when you're talking about building internationally, imagine what it's going to be like when you've got a team of people in Australia and you go to sleep, and while you're asleep, they're up having wild parties, and you wake up the next morning and there's another $1,000 and 1,000 BV on one of your sides, and you just binary matched another $150 while you slept, or sometimes even more, waking up to your projected commissions increasing by that thousands of dollars overnight because you have done it. You have built a team that is following a simple, duplicatable system. And when you get there, you are on that track to eventually, guys, having that life of your dreams, that financial independence, that freedom to go out and bring your husband home, to bring your wife home, to create the life of their dreams, to be able to spend more time with your kids, to be able to go buy those toys, to be able to go invest in your future, to be able to go and help your family members like my grandparents, and that's the key, is just keeping it duplicatable. So if you guys were wondering, oh, well, what's the secret sauce, the secret to success, that one final thing, that's really going to catapult me to the next level, and I'm telling you, it's keeping it simple, making sure we're following this S4S system, making sure that every new person gets blueprinted. So that's like the the S4S is like the activity of getting us to the finish line on the monkey bars, but the blueprint is making sure that we are 100%, our feet are planted, we're ready to rock and roll, and we're going to springboard to success because we have not only our vision outlined in front of us, not only our goals, but also our action steps and our timeline. And when you have all those puzzle pieces together, you got your purpose. You got your purpose. Everybody has their purpose. And then when you have your, the puzzle pieces, your blueprint, the map that is going to get you to your purpose, that's where you have belief. And guys, when belief and purpose meet, you have enthusiasm. And that's what it takes, man. And imagine, I'm telling you, I'm working with some of the most fired up agents. I think our team has probably right now the most fired up agents out there. Just some crazy wacko, ready to go nuts, throwing, just filling pillowcases full of bars of mud soap and just slinging them around their heads. They're so jacked out of their mind because they know that they have their purpose. Their reason why is strong and steady and firmly at the forefront of their mind because they've done their blueprint. They've mapped it out. They know they have their map. They know they have their game plan because it's right here on this one sheet of paper I'm looking at. Steps 2 through 6 gets you, steps 2 through 6 not only gets you into the back office and making sure that you know where everything is and your replenishment squared away, but it also has how you're going to go superstar, step-by-step S4S system, step-by-step how we're going to qualify for the global revenue pool, step-by-step how we're going to get 90 days to drive your dream. And I think if we can create a culture of people that are going out there and just making sure every single new person is just jacked out of their mind because their purpose has met their belief, because they have their belief through the blueprint and know it's going to get them there, that brings the excitement, the enthusiasm, and obviously by virtue of that, guys, our results are going to go up. Things are really going to take off like they're taking off right now. I truly believe this is the time. Me and my buddy, Ben Bradshaw and Joe Valenzuela were talking backstage at the last event. We both said, man, we just got a feeling, a gut feeling in our bellies and our souls, deep within our loins, like a flaming golden hawk, that right now there's just something special about Secret. And I don't want anybody to miss this boat. And so, my word of advice, my last 30 seconds before we close tonight, is make sure everybody goes back to this blueprint. Make sure everybody is staying committed. Just understand you're right there. Tim Hurd talks about priming the pump, making sure we're priming the pump. And the moment you stop priming the pump, the water goes all the way back down to the bottom. You got to start priming the pump again. There's so many people right now, they're right on the verge of a breakthrough, right? Activity doesn't necessarily always bring results, but the activity done well with belief and consistency always brings results. And how do you get to where you can do the activity well? Doing the activity and getting better at it. By virtue of practice, you improve. By virtue of improvement, you become good. You become better. You get great at it. You can master this. It's like Jesse McPherson says, mastering the mundane. And so by just following these simple steps, I'm telling you guys, we are going to be able to go out and build the most ridiculously independent from us, self-sufficient, empowered community of wealthy individuals that the universe we live in right now has ever seen. And I'm excited about it. I know each and every one of you guys are. I hope I didn't get too fired up tonight. I hope it was good content. Make sure you guys know about this coming Sunday night's webinar is going to be back on the normal time, Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. I believe Josh Denny will be back on the webinar by this Sunday. Again, he is in Japan. Please get the information on the Japanese tour schedule so that you guys can get all your agents plugged in there. And let's just go make this thing happen, man. I'm excited for each and every one of you. I can't wait to see you in June at Peak. Good night, guys.